Debo is in Washington. Purdy gives a car away. Our coach is too soft, and we are going to redraft the NFL of 2024 picks in the first round. And a question for you. What would you sacrifice or give up to have backstage opportunity to watch your favorite team win a championship? This and more next on Good Sports. Thanks for joining us. I'm your host, Randy Goode, and as always, we appreciate all the support. We're kind of the Brock Purdy of podcasts. We come out of nowhere, and we are getting more and more of a name of ourselves, so we are appreciative for everything that you guys do, all the support. The more subscribers, the more comments. We had a really good week last week again, and so thank you for your support. Cameron is away. We've got Drew behind the scenes and joined here by Trent. Trent, how you feeling this week?
A little tired.
Yeah?
But we're doing good.
We got the combine going on and different things.
I love watching the clips of the combine because it's so funny. They always they do like the ghost pairing of players, like old players that run it. And I always think it's so entertaining because they'll just pair the most random people together.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that doesn't really make sense, but okay.
Whenever I see that, I always think, if I could do that with against myself when I was like 18 versus now, would I still be in the screen?
No.
As evidence of the fact that I hurt myself walking for the draft picks.
It'd be the opposite for me if I could do that.
Yeah.
For my 18-year-old self.
You'd be faster.
Oh, I'd be way faster.
Yeah. Yeah. No. Me.
I mean, that's not going to last forever. Don't get me wrong.
If I sprint, I'm pulling something. So I can jog slowly for a long ways, but that's it for me. But
yeah.
We've got not only the combine, but this is the time of year where there's trades that happen and a whole bunch of different things, and you can get some really good deals.
A lot of talks of trades, too.
Yeah, a lot of rumors. Debo gets traded to the Commanders, being in the NFC East. What do you think? Who won? Did anybody win? Did both teams win? Are the Commanders better now? Because what they did is they traded their fifth-round pick, which you could get a player in the fifth round. I mean, George Kittle was in the fifth round. There's definitely some talent you can give. So they did give something up. Debo was 3 years ago. He was an all-pro. But they are going to have to pay part of that salary. That's what's helping the 49ers.
I think it's the full salary they're paying.
So he'll get his. The 49ers do have dead cap money.
Well, there's dead cap money, obviously, but they are paying his full $17.5.
Yeah, they're paying $17 million for Debo. So who won the trade? And do you think the Commanders are better or not?
I think ultimately this is an absolute win for the 49ers, but let me preference, I also think this is a win for the Commanders. And maybe there's a partial negative to it. And I'll get into that a little bit more. But why I see this as a win for the 49ers, they obviously have cap issues.
Yep.
They needed to get some of these expensive players who are getting older off their roster. Debo Samuel obviously is one of the older people, especially at his position. He's older.
Yeah.
And he's a large part of their cap.
Yep.
Right now. So they got rid of that contract. They're going to have dead cap money, which is standard, but they got rid of the future endeavors, which is that $17.55 million.
Yep.
So that's going to help them a lot, especially with free agency coming up.
Yeah.
They can restructure some contracts,
move
some money around, and it's going to open up what they can do in the offseason for sure. But why I see it as a win for the 49ers, they really needed this. And at the end of the day, they got something back for him.
Yeah.
Which I didn't know if they were going to. And just because he came off of a very not stellar season.
No.
And his contract's so high.
Yep.
I didn't think they were going to be able to talk someone into taking that high of a contract and have an aging wide receiver who's coming off of a rough year.
Yeah.
So this is good for them. This is really good for the 49ers. I see this as an absolute win for them. Let me preference. I see this as a win for the Commanders. I think they get a player who not too long ago was very talented. He had an off season this year. I think he could come back and play even better this next year. They needed a gadget guy. The problem is they have two running backs who I think are semi-talented.
Yeah.
And I think they have Terry McLaurin at wide receiver who's talented. But their next person up was Olamide Zaccheaus, or actually your next up would be Zach Ertz. who's their tight
sure.
end, and then Alameda Zaccheaus. I think this helps out in their wide receiver room. I think the age of Debo actually helps them out because they're probably going to have to bring some younger talent in there to continue to build this offense up. And especially to be competing in the division they compete in. But why I see this as maybe a partial negative, I'm pretty sure they were leading the tolls for the old Myles Garrett trade. And
they used up the money.
I don't know that they still couldn't make it work. They were like the third highest cap, or they had the third most cap space on their team, and they're not paying their quarterback yet.
Yeah.
So I think they probably could have still made it work, or still can make it work. But it's probably going to lessen that you're not as willing to go spend that much on a pass rusher.
Yeah.
When because you've already given away a 5th-round pick, and now you're talking about more draft capital.
Yeah.
Giving away more draft capital, and you already just spent a bunch of money on getting that other pick.
Yeah.
It's just I'm going to go ahead and say that the likelihood of them getting Myles Garrett at this point is probably on a much lower scale.
Yeah.
Which for the Eagles, the Cowboys, and the Giants,
your Eagles look like
they're pretty stoked.
Very possible landing spot for one of the 2 best pass rushers in the game.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we'll see how it all plays out. But, I mean, if Myles Garrett wants top defensive end money at 29 years old and you got to give up draft capital, I don't know a lot of teams that are going to be able to do it.
Yeah.
And I think Washington was up there for one of the teams that could have.
Yeah.
I don't know that it's going to work out for them now.
Yeah, $17 million for Debo is a lot of money. You have to look at things and not just be mesmerized by the past. You have to look at the present and the future. And Debo last year had, for him, not for the 49ers, but for him, everything on his side. You have your number 1 guy, Brandon Ayuk, is out.
Mm-hmm.
You have the offensive player of the year in Christian McCaffrey's out the whole year virtually.
Mm-hmm.
So he's the guy. He and Kittle were the guys left.
Yeah.
Kittle stepped up. Debo was terrible.
Yeah.
He came to camp finally. He's been off and on in shape. I think he'll come to camp because now he'll be motivated as a new team.
Yep.
But he lost it during the year, and he got out of shape during the year.
I know. That was the crazy thing is every time I would watch a football game, it was like he gained more weight.
Yeah, he has bad habits, and it caught up with him. I think he'll get in better shape. He'll have some good moments, but he's 28 going on 35. Because the way he plays so violently.
Yep.
He would not run out of bounds. He would hit somebody, which you'd love to see. But
and he played the wide back position.
Yep.
Where you're going into running back.
He played running back. Yeah, he did everything. So I mean, I think he'll have some good moments, but I think he is definitely on the decline. And the 49ers, this would have been their last year with him, but they did restructure his deal. So the 49ers were now in a situation: do we pay a guy a lot of money who's not going to produce? Do we let him go for nothing and split the dead cap? Or do we take all the cap hit this year and get a trade value for him? And they took all the dead cap this year, so they'll be done after this year, which is perfect because they just got rid of a big salary for next year, which was going to be $20 million against the cap for him next year.
Mm-hmm.
They won't have that now. And Brock Purdy's still on a rookie contract this year, so they're going to sign Brock this year, and then next year he'll get the big contract, and you don't have Debo. That took 30% or 35% of the salary right there.
Yep.
To save him.
And Juwan Jennings already inked a 2-year extension, so they're going to have him on the roster. He stepped up big last year.
Yep.
I think with him and Brandon Ayuk, if Brandon Ayuk can have a bounce back season, him and Brandon Ayuk will be a formidable wide receiver duo. And you got Ricky Pearsall, who's young.
The last like 3 or 4 games, Pearsall came on. He didn't have an off season, so he was hurt. Pearsall was hurt all off season.
He wasn't hurt.
Well, he got hurt, and then as soon as he got healthy, 2 or 3 days later, he got shot.
Yeah.
Soon as he got healthy, so then he missed that. Then he came back in the season, and by the last 4 games, he started playing really well. So they have a trio of receivers now. I think they'll get another one. They got Conley on their team too that didn't play much, but he was a rookie last year. And so I think the 49ers did really well, and they needed to. They were the oldest team in the league. I didn't know this. They were the oldest team in the league.
Yeah, I could see that.
And so
The age of teams is actually pretty low still right now. I mean,
Yeah.
the Eagles, I think, are the third youngest, and they're 26.
yeah,
average.
you've got to be in the NFL. You've got to have young, and you got to do well with the draft.
I think what a lot of teams are figuring out right now is going the old route doesn't really help a lot.
Right.
It's good to have some older guys sprinkled in there.
Yeah.
Because they help with the leadership.
Right.
But having a really old team, the problem is staying healthy for that many games is just next to impossible.
Yep. Yeah, you got to have just the right type of. I mean, if you had an older kicker, that was steady and reliable, a quarterback that was a veteran that was in his 30s, if that's where your age is. But if you're young at quarterback, which 49ers are young at quarterback, and they had a second-year kicker who's terrible, but Moody, and you're the oldest team, that ain't good.
Yeah.
That's not good. So, okay, so part of this whole thing is all about the draft. So the 49ers now have 11 draft picks.
Yep.
So I thought it would be good to go back and look at a redraft of the 2024. It's always good to see because you have all these positions and whatnot where you see people they're the people that are picked to go, and then you go back and you say, oop, that guy in the third round, maybe he's a first round pick and whatnot. So here was one CBS draft that I came across, CBS Sports Draft. And so this would be the redraft that they had. I'm just going to go through the whole first round. I'll just say them quickly, and then you tell me what you agree, disagree, what your thoughts are. So redrafting right now, after watching what we watched, Jaden Daniels, without a doubt, would be the number 1 pick.
Yeah.
Caleb Williams, they still have as number 2, which I could see that. He wasn't horrific.
Yeah, and he's also got the position going for him.
Yeah, and he had a bad offensive line. He had great receivers, but a bad offensive line. But as a quarterback, I could see them saying, this one has Drake May going 3rd. So you have 3 quarterbacks in a row. And then it starts changing. Jared Verse.
Wow.
At 4. Joe Alt at 5. So he's basically staying the same. He had a good year. And then another quarterback, Bo Nix, who had a good year with Denver. And then 7. You're going to like 7. Cooper DeJean.
Cooper
DeJean.
They have Cooper over Quignon?
Yep.
That's interesting.
Then they have 8, Chop Robinson. 9, this was about where he was at, Malik Neighbors.
Yep.
And Brock Bowers, 10, which is close to where he was. And then 11 is your Quinyon Mitchell going to the Vikings. And then you have another quarterback, J.J. McCarthy at 12. Brian Thomas Jr., wide receiver, 13. Ladd McConkey, he was either late at the end of the first round or beginning of the second round. It might have been beginning of the second.
I think he was the beginning. Yeah, he was. He's the beginning of the second round.
Yep. Then you have Latu, the edge. You have Braden Fisk, would be going to Seattle at 16. 17, Marvin Harrison Jr., he dropped a lot.
Yeah.
Nate Wiggins, cornerback, 18. You have Cooper, linebacker, going 19 to the Rams.
Edgerrin? Is it Edgerrin?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you have Michael Penix Jr. going 20. Devondre Sweet, defensive lineman. Sweat, sorry, 21. And then Phillips is who you'd be getting. Andrew Phillips at cornerback. He would have gone to the Eagles. And then 23, Dominique Pooney. That's the 49ers' third-round pick. He made it up to the 23rd pick. And then Bucky Irving, running back, 24th pick. Kamari Lassiter, cornerback.
Yeah.
And then Zach Frazier. And then Xavier Worthy is about maybe a couple picks higher at 27. Jalen Hunt, linebacker. Jones, safety. And then Renardo Green, 49er.
They had Keon Coleman falling out of this?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Because you have still cornerback and Peyton Wilson, linebacker going. So that's who they have in the first round. What are your thoughts of that? If you were the Eagles, let me first ask you this. Would you take Cooper DeJean or Quinyon Mitchell?
Oh, I would have definitely had Quinyon Mitchell ahead.
Me too.
This is the thing.
That's a harder position. They're both important.
They're both very hard in their own ways. This is the problem, though, is you can find slot cornerbacks, not great ones, and I think Cooper has the ability to be great. You can find good, solid starting slot cornerbacks everywhere, all over the league. Now Cooper, I think, is a great one, so maybe you could put a little bit more classification to that.
Yeah.
But as far as outside cornerbacks, I mean, like we talked about this at one point in the season. How many shutdown cornerbacks are there in the league?
There's
2 or 3.
A couple. Yeah.
I mean, at the most.
Yeah.
There's like 2 or 3 where you're like, yeah, I would pay all the money in the world to have him.
I totally agree with you.
So I just feel like the value for Quinyon just is much higher.
I agree.
Yeah.
I totally agree. I thought, well, the Eagles, like I said, the Eagles had a couple picks that would have now gone in the first round that were, well, Quinyon Mitchell, was he around 20th pick, 21st pick or something like that?
I think it's 21st.
21st, yeah.
You know what's crazy is no one said anything, or you didn't say Jalix Hunt, which is funny. He was our 3rd round pick. He had 2 sacks in the Super Bowl. So, you know.
Yeah.
Braden Fisk definitely deserves to go up. I think he was a little bit higher than I probably would have redrafted him. Oh yeah, he went to Seattle. This is the thing is Seattle's Byron Murphy, the defensive tackle out of Texas.
Yeah.
He didn't have a bad season.
Yeah.
So I don't necessarily know that Byron Murphy would have fallen out.
Yeah. Looks like Quinyon Mitchell was 22nd.
Yeah. Where did they redraft Chop Robinson? Because he had a good year too.
Yeah, he was on that pick. Let's see. I'll tell you where he'd Chop Robinson. Let's see here. Where was he? Xavier? Is it? No, he was higher than that. Because he did have a really good year. There's a few people. That's what's fun about watching this draft is you're gonna watch these guys, and you get somebody in 3rd, 4th, 5th round. He was the 8th pick.
See, I think the problem about this is they might be redrafting these players, but the positional value still means a lot, even if you redraft them. Yeah. Like,
yep.
Who was it? Oh, I didn't hear you say Roma Doomsday.
No.
Which he didn't have a bad year.
Nope. You had a couple. You had Marvin Harrison picked above him. You had Neighbors, who did well.
Yeah.
Did well. But
yeah, and Brian Thomas Jr., did he make it back on there? He should have. I would imagine he did.
I don't think he did.
He had like 1,000 yards.
Yeah, I don't think he made it.
So there's no way you're taking 1,000-yard receiver.
Wait, who did you say? Oh, Brian Thomas Jr. did. Yes,
okay.
yes. Sorry, he was 13.
Oh, okay. There you go.
Yep.
Well, that makes sense.
And Fisk was 16.
Enter at your own Fisk. I like that dude.
Yeah,
he's good.
So, anyway,
like I said,
well, I'll look forward to. We're gonna come in the future. What we'll do is we're gonna make some picks, and we're gonna maybe pick our favorite. We might do a mock draft, which would be fun. And then we will also pick on some of our favorite teams, a couple players that would be really nice fits.
Yeah.
That would be like, okay, if I get that pick, I think our team could really make a difference.
Yeah.
In the future, that could help make a difference for the future. So, all right, want to ask you a question. Hot topic for Trent with the Philadelphia Eagles. The tush push was on full display the last couple years, but then in the offseason, they are talking and they just discussed the opportunity to ban the tush push. Do you think that the NFL should have banned it, or do you think it's a bunch of malarkey and teams need to just figure it out?
I think it's one of those things where it's like, how would you say this? It's like when you have a disagreement with someone in your family. You don't just like, everyone maybe in the room wants to say it, but no one does.
Yeah.
And of course, the one person that comes out and says something is the Packers, right? So how it works is like the NFLPA. They technically can't say who said what or how it got brought into play, but they can say that only one single team voted to try and ban it, right? And I'm sure, don't get me wrong, I'm sure there's probably like 11 or 12 other teams that would say that, but they didn't, because they probably didn't want to get in trouble, and they didn't want to be the team that's, seems like they're trying to, ban it, right? The funny thing is, though, is the Packers general manager, he says all these opinions about it, but he's like, he almost like comes from a place of like, he didn't know that his own organization was the ones that proposed for it to be banned. So it's just like kind of weird. And anyways, he just basically came out and said, "Oh, well, this is how we feel about it." Let me see here. I'll pull up the actual Packers. What he said. He said, "This is Brian Gutekunst."
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, get a new last name, buddy. Maybe focus on that. Confirmed Tuesday that the team had submitted a proposal to ban the play, which is a modified quarterback sneak where 2 or 3 teammates line up behind Hurts, push him forward, and help him try to gain the yardage necessary. We really have, this is quotations, we really haven't had very many discussions about it. Obviously you did because your team proposed for it to be banned. I'm sure we will, over the next few weeks, have discussions about it as we head into the owners' meetings. So I'm aware we did, but really hadn't had many discussions about it. Yeah, I mean, he talks like he's not a part of the organization that said they wanted to ban it. And I'm like, this is so confusing. Like,
so who would you have thought would have been the team? Because I had a team immediately when it was one team. You told me about this. I immediately thought it was going to be the Dallas Cowboys.
Oh, that's what I was going to say. Is I figured it'd be the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah,
Micah Parsons hates it.
Yeah, somebody in your division, and I thought that's a Cowboy thing.
Yeah,
that's got to be a Cowboy. I was surprised. It's NFC, but
yeah. So Mark Murphy, the CEO of the Packers, came out and said it's bad for the game in a message posted to the team.
Yeah.
And then he says there's no skill involved. It's almost an automatic first down on plays of 1 yard or less. Yeah. I like to see the league prohibit pushing or aiding the run. Atlanta Falcons coach Raheem Morris said Tuesday he wouldn't mind seeing it go away. I've never been a fan, Morris said. Never understood why it was allowed. I definitely will be one of the guys voting against it.
Yeah.
Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Todd Bowles, he's in the NFL competition committee. He said he doesn't believe the tush push should be banned. Bowles said teams have learned how to stop it rather than having the league take it out of the game. Perfect. Sean McDermott of the Bills. Now, mind you, the Bills ran the tush push 3 times in the AFC Championship game. None of 3 actually converted.
So is that the problem? Do you think a lot people don't know how to do it right?
Yes.
And they're just jealous?
I think what's really upsets me about the whole thing is like the Packers, for example. They have tried to run the tush push.
Yeah.
And they're terrible at it.
Yeah.
And Jordan Love's so bad at it that later in the year they put a tight end in there to try and run the tush push.
Yeah.
And it's like, what do you guys complain about? Because you guys, this is the thing. If it was every team in the league getting it to work, then I would understand. Okay, if every team in the league got a guaranteed first down off of it, then sure, why not? Ban it. That makes sense to me. Yeah. Or the other thing is if people are getting injured,
right,
then that would make sense.
Yeah.
But actually, the NFLPA came out and said no one got injured in the last year in this play.
Yeah, so you can't make that argument.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They've had players go out of the game for being down or injured, but they never had any actual injury status come from the play.
That would be their point.
Yeah.
If they had that evidence, I think it would have been gone. I was wondering what I thought they would stop doing is allowing you to push a player to help them go forward, the actual pushing. I was wondering if that's what they were going to go with this year because otherwise it's a quarterback sneak.
Yeah.
So do you outlaw quarterback sneaks?
Well, the funny thing
altogether, because the only difference is now you're pushing.
Well, they're all saying most of these coaches and teams are saying, well, it's a safety concern. Sean McDermott said it was a safety concern.
Oh,
he ran it 3 times in the game. If it was such a safety concern, you wouldn't have done it.
So yeah, that's a good point. And then also you have one of the actual more exciting parts of a game is a form of the tush push when a running back is just running the ball. And then the offensive line comes from behind and pushes them forward, and he keeps moving his feet and going forward. That's always one of the most exciting plays. Yeah, just to see that. It's like a tug of war, except the opposite version. It's our will versus your will, and that's part of the gladiator football fun that you see. So they're either going to have to say we're going to have to ban quarterback sneaks altogether. Or they're going to have to say you can't push people, which means those other plays can't happen either because they happen all the time.
They can't do that. They can't say you can't push people because are they going to outlaw defensive players pushing each other?
Right.
Okay, that's not fair whatsoever.
Yeah.
So now you're saying that the defensive players can push each other to get a guy down.
Yeah.
But it's illegal for the offensive players to push a player? That's crazy.
I think it's somehow the Eagles have figured out how to do this massively well, and nobody else can figure out how to A, stop it, and A, duplicate it.
Yeah. Well, I think
Which isn't that a little remarkable that teams can't do it nearly as well? I mean, there's nobody doing it nearly as well.
Here's the thing, though. The Eagles have had a top 5 O-line.
Yeah.
For the last 5 years.
Yeah.
Probably even longer than that. Okay? We have amazing linemen on our team.
Yeah.
Guys that deserve all pros but won't get it because of the fact that they play on the Eagles, right?
Yeah.
And you're going to go ahead and say, well, we're going to ban this play that only one team's really stellar at.
Well, yeah, and a lot of it is because you have Jalen Hurts who can squat
600
pounds. You have a quarterback that can squat 600,
and a running back who squats
pushing
5.
him that can do the same thing.
Yeah.
Behind him.
Yeah.
So
I just what I don't understand is even Nick Sirianni's like, well, it kind of actually pisses me off because we work so hard at that play to be better at it.
Right.
And he's like, but then these other teams are like, well, we just want to ban it because we're not good at it, and only one team is.
I think the only way they're going to get that thing banned is if they start seeing injuries.
Yeah.
You don't see injuries, it's going to be hard to
listen.
You're now just not liking it
because the injuries thing has been such a big deal on this. Are we going to see injuries get faked because of it? Are we going to see
from other teams? Yeah, you'll see the Packers. They're going to be
I hope that they come into it because this is the thing for me. I truly believe, in my own personal opinion, this is the most football play you could possibly have. Yeah. And for people who don't understand that, as someone who was an offensive lineman, there was nothing that was more fulfilling as an offensive lineman than to see your teammates manhandle another team.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
And when you manhandle another team, your running back's getting yardage.
Yes.
Every single time.
That's what Kittle once said one of his favorite things about football is moving another man in the opposite direction that they want to go against his will.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's
it's seriously,
that's football.
That's football right there. And the tush push is a play.
Yes.
Where you move people.
So, yep.
It's mano-y-mano. And the cool thing is when you see them line up and they're nose to nose, you're like, these are grown men who are about to put everything in their will
and you know
against each other.
exactly what they're doing. And they do it anyway.
Yes. That's football.
You can do a couple things to stop it. You can, not allow 3rd and shorts and 4th and shorts and stop them. Otherwise. Now there was, who was it in the NFL that was jumping over the...
Oh, that's Commanders.
That was that was in the NFC Championship game? Yeah. How many times did he jump over?
Yeah.
Then they warned him. I don't even know if that's a real rule. They're like, warning, we are going to just basically give a touchdown.
Points. Which I think is hilarious. And honestly, I don't have any problem with him jumping off that many times.
Yeah.
Honestly, he could have kept on doing that, and I would have had no problem with it.
Is that actually a rule?
Oh, yes, it is. It's been in the rule book for a long time.
That you can
They
give
can award points,
award points.
Yep.
That is, I've never heard of that ever being called. That was hilarious.
Yeah.
And he's trying. I liked it.
Yeah,
he was going for it.
Like I said, if you're looking at I love the effort, yes, absolutely.
Yes. We got to show that clip, Drew. You got to show the Commanders just jumping over the line over and over and over again.
I mean, I think
Fourth and goal.
Good for you,
Fourth
man.
and goal.
Good
Fourth
for you.
and goal.
If that's the route you want to take, do it.
Yeah.
Do it.
That was great. That was fantastic. All right. So, moving on now, something that I was thinking, because we've talked about this before, and last week we talked about, would you rather go to a Super Bowl or would you rather go and be behind the scenes in a draft room, which is what I would rather do, unless I was guaranteed the Super Bowl is going to be some ridiculously awesome Super Bowl. But then this week's question, what would you sacrifice to be able to watch your team win a Super Bowl and be able to be back stage with them? So you're in the locker room, you're down on the sideline with them. What would you give up to have that experience?
Everything.
I
would give up everything.
That is such a yes. What can you say on the air that you would give up? Because I think if we're all there, it's one thing if you're in the Super Bowl and you're up in the 3rd row and you can barely tell if there was was that a touchdown or an interception? But like if you're behind the scenes and you're there and you get to see the AJ Brown, moment where he's ticked off and then he's celebrating. You're getting to see Nick Sirianni get the bath and everything, all that kind of stuff. What would you give up?
I mean, easily a kidney, right?
A kidney, yeah. That's good. Yeah. You can live without a kidney.
Listen,
Can you live without that experience? I don't know.
I'd do 3 months in the slammer.
Yeah. That's it. How many days behind bars would you be willing to do if you got your job back? You'd do 90 days. I mean, I guess if I think about it, you got to make sure your budget is sufficient.
Yeah.
You get free room and board.
Yeah. I would give up at least 1 year of my life.
Kidney, 3 months, and now, wow.
Not 1 year in the slammer.
Yeah.
I'm just saying 1 year, just cut it short 1 year.
Yeah. Okay. As long as you live a long life.
Yeah, and I would maybe go 3 to 6 months on the slammer thing. We'd have to negotiate those terms. Depends on how much commissary I'm getting, okay?
Oh, man. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, listen to the thing. Is the ability to be there in that scenario, okay, as someone who's an outsider, right?
Yeah.
It's one thing if you're a talented football player and you get to be on the sidelines like, I don't know. Let's say you're a backup offensive lineman. Backup. You've been on the practice squad all year. There's been an injury. You get to be suited up for the game. You're going to get to see things that people only dream of, okay?
Locker room
But it's not
afterwards.
as special when you're a backup offensive lineman.
Yeah.
It's not as special. It's more special to be on the front lines as just a fan.
Yeah.
Okay? And you get to just take it all in.
Yes.
And you get to see the wild reactions from players as they come to the bench.
Yep.
And then like think about when they're in the locker room, when the Eagles are in the locker room after the Super Bowl. And Saquon Barkley's shotgunning beers and dancing, and Jalen Hurts is spraying champagne all over people's faces.
Oh.
I mean, imagine just staying there getting to watch it.
Yeah.
Not even talk to him.
Yep.
Just watching it.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it would be the most epic
You'd
thing
remember
ever.
that for the rest of your life. I was thinking, I didn't like school.
Yeah.
I didn't like college, graduated. I mean, I liked the experience, some of what I had. But, I mean, I would do at least a full semester more of classes.
Yeah.
Just to experience that.
Yeah.
I was thinking of that.
Think about this. It's the one moment that you would have in your life where you would start almost every conversation with, yeah, this one time I was in the Super Bowl, right?
Oh, that would be the story.
I'd like to lose like an index finger, and you'd be like, "Grandson, I lost this finger for my team."
I mean, let's just be honest. I love my wife.
Yes.
Love her so much. Okay.
Yeah.
Everyone gets married.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not everybody gets this.
Not
That's
everybody
true.
gets this.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously, think about it.
Yeah. We won't start sacrificing children.
No,
for
I
this.
didn't. I didn't say I would sacrifice future children, and I didn't say I was going to sacrifice my marriage. Okay, absolutely did not say that. Let me make that clear on air.
Yeah, you're just drawing a parallel that nobody gets this opportunity.
You don't start a conversation. Yeah. You don't start a conversation with, "Yeah, so my wedding was so beautiful."
Yeah,
because of the fact that a lot of people get married.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But what you would start a conversation with every single time you met someone new is, this one time I was at the Super Bowl. And it was the most epic thing I've ever seen.
I want to know first, Drew, I got to hear from you. I want to hear what you would sacrifice to watch your team win a championship. Now, and you get to be behind the scenes. You get to see everything. I mean, imagine, so the Mariners, who have never even been in the World Series, okay?
Mariners would be really hard.
Now, I would rather have some other teams in there, but like if you get to say, not only was I at the last, that game, I was in the clubhouse. I got to be a part of everything. Or it could be your football team, the 49ers. It could be whatever. What would you give up that you feel comfortable knowing that this is going to be on the air that you would sacrifice for this?
I think I'd start with looking at different things that I can live without, and all of those things one by one. I only need one eye to see. I can lose a couple fingers in weird places. Mariners would be the one I'd pick for that too, because
it's so historic.
Even though I'm a bigger 49er fan than I am a Mariners fan, the Mariners have never won and will likely never win in my lifetime. So if they were to win, that will probably be the most epic thing I've ever seen in my life.
Right, sure.
So I'm going to go with that. But I mean, I don't need all 10 of them.
Yeah.
I can lose a couple toes.
Give me a Van Gogh. Maybe I just lose my ear.
I think I would keep those. I think I'd keep my digits. I think I would just go to school a little bit longer. I'd be willing to do that. Because that's going to cost me, even behind jail. If you're in jail for a while, that's over with. That expires.
Yeah, exactly.
But if you lose a digit,
that's true.
That digit's gone.
Yeah.
You're not getting that back.
Yeah.
I mean, they can put it back, but it's going to look funny and it ain't going to function.
I can't think of a single body part that I'd be willing to give up.
Yeah, I wouldn't give up a body part.
The problem is you give up any of your toes, so you're not going to run right.
No, you're going to be walking funny. And
that would suck.
It would suck. So some people would do it.
Yeah.
Mariners, you got to hear this kind of stuff. You might want to put together a team that's worthy.
Yeah.
Because people are willing to start dropping limbs for you. So, okay. So I'm going to go to more of a lighter thing I wanted to talk about. So this week,
I don't know this is lighter.
Well, Brock
Yeah.
Purdy,
Yeah.
who already has given away a bunch of trucks to his linemen, right? Yep. He went back to his old school. And in an assembly situation, went and gave an SUV to his old janitor. Somehow this guy, I guess, worked hard and was always really kind to the students there. And so they blindfolded this guy. It was such a cool moment. I thought this was just really awesome. Sounds like they were surprising him. He didn't really know what it was. And Brock Purdy just basically breathed life into him and said, you know what? I told myself if I ever made it big, I wanted to do something special. And he gives him a truck. And then he also gives him $25,000 so he never has to worry about maintenance, gas, or taxes for that truck.
That's crazy.
And the guy just cried, broke down. 2024 Ford Bronco he gave. I thought that's really cool. And I thought, Brock Purdy, good for you that you're doing this. You know, he's still only on now. I'm sure he's because of endorsements, whatever, but he's still only getting $1 million. But he ain't
broke, that's for sure.
But he is he's gonna get paid pretty well this year. So you know, but either way, really cool story. Congratulations to Mr. Gonzalez.
Mr. Gonzalez.
Yep, Mr. Gonzalez. He gets a truck. So good for him. Another thing I want to talk about. I've been wanting to talk about this for a little while. This is men's basketball. Okay, specifically. The UCLA coach, Mick Cronin.
Yep, I know him.
He goes on a little tirade. This is over a month ago, so this is not something that just happened. And he is disgusted with his players.
I mean, we're soft. Yeah. Aside from, to be fair to you, obviously, they have a unique skill set, the way they shoot the ball, but we're soft. I have to run on the court to get guys to play hard. It's crazy. You know, and it's every day. I'm tired of it. It's every day. I have the most energy of anybody at practice every day. I'm upset with everybody in that locker room, my assistant coaches and my players. I mean, I don't need to do anything else. I almost got 500 wins. I'm only 53. You think I'm coaching the Lakers? I mean, it's a joke. It's a joke. But yet I come in and I have more passion and energy and pride than everybody, and that's the problem. It's really hard to coach people that are delusional. The hungry dog gets the bone. We got guys that think they're way better than they are. They're nice kids. They're completely delusional about who they are. The toughest guy in the room can't be me every day. It can't. It can't.
And he goes on and talks about how they're soft, they're delusional. He kind of threw his assistant coaches under the bus and his players big time. And he said, hey, listen, and he basically is accepting no responsibility because he says, I've basically already run 500. I already have 500 wins. So he's like saying, I know what I'm doing. These people don't know what they're doing. And now they just lost over this last weekend. They just had a loss. And he's frustrated with his team and struggling. I think they're going to get a decent seed in the, it sounds like in the, you know, they'll be in the mid brackets of the NCAA, it sounds like.
Yeah.
That's coming up here in a couple weeks. But I wanted to ask you this. So he's kind of a little hardcore. Are coaches too soft right now? Or do you think coaches have done too much damage to players over a time? And so what are your thoughts in general? And what do you think of him calling out his staff and his players publicly?
I don't know. See, this is the thing is I think it actually has to do a lot with like maybe just the area that you're in versus you know, how you coaching is one of those things where you always hear growing up, I treat every player the same way.
Yeah.
Which has a little bit of truth in it, but also is a little unfair to the situation. You should never treat every player in the same manner. You should treat them all equally, but you should never handle situations in the same manner with every player. One kid might need a little bit more structure.
Yep.
One kid might need a little less structure.
Yep.
One kid might need a little bit more of a tough love.
Right.
One kid might need soft love.
Right.
Right. And there's just so many different ways to go about it. Now, you always treat them in an equal manner to where those kids know that you love them. Right. But you don't necessarily do it in the same manner at all times. And Vic Fangio from the Eagles is a perfect example of sometimes a coach for one area is not good for the other.
Right.
He struggled down in Miami. And when he left, the players were like, we didn't like that guy. We didn't like him whatsoever. But he goes to the Eagles, and you can't see a defensive player coming out on a podcast or anything like that without speaking very highly of him.
Yep.
Right? And I think the difference there is when you're down in Miami, you have a bunch of players who love to go to the beach.
Right.
They love to, party on the strip down at night. And you go to Philadelphia, it's a hard-working class town.
Yeah.
It's just a different area.
Yeah.
And yes, you're getting players from all across the world to come to one place.
Yeah.
But the culture that a football team's based off of is based off their community that they are in. So I just would say some places like UCLA probably need a softer coach. And some places
because of the culture.
Yeah.
You go to Wisconsin or something like that. Yeah, it might be a little bit of a thicker skinned individual. And yeah, I mean, I've coached literally decades, and I absolutely know. I'm perplexed that coaches can't figure this out. I don't understand it, because you said something I totally agree with. You have to look at your audience and know who you're talking to. If you take one kid, in my situation, talking to a high school kid or younger, and you're too hard on them, you're going to lose them forever. And then there's some kids, if you don't get on them and spur them up, they'll be dead.
Yeah.
And so you have to know what you're dealing with and talk to them in their language that works for them. Now, in the end, you still have to have people showing up on time. There's still rules. There's still, disciplines that people have. But you do treat people differently. You don't have different rules, but you treat them differently because you're trying to get the most out of them.
Yes.
Some of these coaches that are the most successful, you'll look and they'll have a broad group of people that like them. And it's like you can see really genuine, nice people like them, and some of the hardcore people like them because they speak in their language, and coaches don't do that enough. In this situation, Cronin has had a lot of success.
Yep.
And sometimes that can get you in. I thought it was bad to go public and calling people soft and delusional.
I agree.
I wouldn't do. I think soft is such a bad connotation. And then he said, I'm in the locker room. I'm also mad at my assistant coaches. Like, he should have thrown himself in there too.
Yeah.
He should have said, I'm not doing enough. My assistant coaches are not doing enough. And you'll see a lot of coaches do it. But he never said anything. Then when he talked about himself, he referred to himself like, I obviously have success. So I'm not the problem. Everybody else is the problem.
Yep.
I thought that was a problem.
Yeah, you got to take ownership no matter what.
Yeah.
You can never, ever allow other people to take ownership.
No. And that's part of it. If your players are soft. Now, in college, you're recruiting people, or you took a position over of these. So you made a decision that I'm either going to coach these kids. You should know who your kids are that you're coaching.
Yep.
Or you recruited them.
Yep, exactly.
So part of this is your responsibility. And if they're not responding the way you want, maybe you need to look in the mirror and say, maybe I need to do some things differently in either my recruiting process or how I'm going to motivate people.
Yeah, I mean, this is the thing is I'm sure when he got the job, he probably was like, man, I'm going to love UCLA. It's a beautiful campus.
Right.
It's sunny year round. I'm going to go to the beach with my wife and maybe my kids all the time.
Yeah.
And then now he's mad that his players want to go to the beach.
Yeah.
This is the thing. You got to understand that the same reasons you want to be somewhere else is the same reason that these players want to be somewhere else.
Right.
And you have to coach them in a specific manner in which you're going to get the most out of them. And I just think ultimately, maybe he's either not the right coach for that area,
right,
or he needs to do a better job at finding a way to coach those players.
Yeah. Well, I'm interested to see how they do going forward. It's at the end of the season. We'll see if they make a run. I know a lot of people try a lot of psychological things, so this could be a psychological play. Like, get it out there, get them mad at me, and maybe they'll get them to respond in a different way. I don't know what the method is, but I personally like it when people accept responsibility for their own actions too.
Yeah.
And he just came across that way. I've been wanting to talk about that. That didn't happen, like I said. It happened a while ago. However, he just came out again, and he's pretty frustrated with his team.
Yeah.
And I think we've all been there as coaches. But if you want discipline from your team, you might want to have discipline in your own actions.
Oh yeah.
My own thoughts. So, okay. Well, we'll be getting ready as the combine continues. We'll be talking a lot of draft.
I'm excited.
The draft is awesome. I'm excited. It does a good draft will absolutely change things going forward. The Seahawks, when they became the Legion of Boom, is because they nailed the draft. They got everything cheap and well, and then they were set for a few years. And so you look at, what was it? They redrafted, and you had 2 people in the top 11 or 12 for the Eagles. Pretty awesome. So we'll see going forward how things go. Look forward to it. Again, hit the subscribe button. Real quick, if you haven't done it, just boom, hit that button. Like it, and if you have any comments, please add your comments. We love your comments. Thank you guys for your support, and we will see you next week. Hey, thanks for watching the clip. I hope you enjoyed it. Please hit the subscribe button. It helps us get out our content, and you'll get everything new that comes out with us. Thanks again.